He's a lot of survey and background information that helps. Mr. Zavarell, how are you?
I texted him 2 weeks ago because Snaps the Wall was auctioning off all their equipment. I texted him the website.
Someone emailed about Saturday.
I texted him everything.
Well, I mean, there's technical issues.
I was waiting for the patent. I was trying to handle it. I'm sorry.
That's fine, yeah. And sorry about the confusion about the trash too, so I'm
No,
fine.
it was good. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, that's what makes sense. We'll just walk after, okay?
You just story. Yeah, we'll go back.
That's what I. Yeah, I thought too, when we go to that place on Murray, that anytime she did this. Right there by Bell. I've never been in there.
Yes.
But yes, it's like, it's sort of like the snout pit.
You can open it. If anyone needs to go into the men's room, be careful, the floor is wet in there, so let's want to put that up.
We're no longer liable for an injury.
You almost ready?
Whenever you are we zooming in, or?
Yeah, we're
you
live
zooming
streaming.
in?
We zoom in.
Good evening. We're going to begin the council work session for July 7th, 2021. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Thomas, if you would begin with our agenda, please, sir.
Certainly. Item number 1 is the Parkside Estates Phase 2. Parkside Estates, if you don't know, is that new development there on New Texas Road, just across from the entrance to Boyce Park there. The project was divided into 3 phases. Their initial approval was their master site plan for all 3 phases. However, phases 2 and 3 were not subdivided at that point. At this point, they've come and gone through the planning commission process to subdivide phase 2. I believe it's 14 parcels, but they're not all buildable parcels. Am I correct about that?
19.
Oh,
So
I
there's
can't
21
count.
parcels, so 19 are buildable parcels. 2 of them, lots A and C. Lot A has a gas well on it. At some future date, if that gas well is removed, conceivably it could be subdivided. Parcel C is a wetlands parcel that, John, you would agree, this is John Wright from Lennon Smith. They're the engineer on this. You'd agree that parcel C is unbuildable?
Yes, sir. Yeah, John Wright with Lennon Smith Solar Engineering here on behalf of Miranda Homes. Yeah, absolutely. Lot C is kind of an out parcel, nothing but wetlands, and there is a third gas well on that property as well, too. So.
I would like to point out that when we get to item 7, talking about borrowing millions of dollars, that I wasn't able to count 14 to 19, so you should be careful of what I advise.
Luckily, Mike Whitaker's doing the counting first.
At this point, they've gone through the planning commission. The planning commission has recommended approval with, based upon the final review and approval of the engineer.
Discussion? Sir, refresh my memory. How many homes are going into the Parkside Estates plan?
You're talking all 3 phases, Dave?
Yeah, by phase 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, Dave, I don't think you were with us in 2018. Yeah, total it's 88. The first phase was 40. This phase, like David mentioned, is going to be 19 homes with the 2 out parcels. And then the final phase will
So
be
40 in phase 1, 19 in phase 2,
Yes, sir.
and
the remainder's in phase 3. Yes, sir. I think they had, when we started the process, they had maybe 10 lots left in phase 1, so that's why Miranda asked to come in, because they're selling pretty quick. So the boys took some pictures out there. We originally thought when it was starting, I think some of them were around, like, I think it said 418,000, so they're selling pretty quick out there. It's pretty wild.
Now, is that Chevelle up at the top
Yeah.
of the,
Yeah,
okay, that's what I thought. It's
there at the
okay.
end. Like that right there,
Right.
lower.
Above
on-
phase
above phase
2.
2 there
Right.
is Chevelle.
Okay, thank you.
Very
Just
well.
want to get an idea where they were situated.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, thanks, sir. Agenda item.
The Hecker subdivision,
Struggle buzz.
I wasn't
Freudian
drinking
slip.
at all.
Shit, anyway. It was all that rainwater.
The applicant, so this is an application that you accepted as complete last month. This is a simple subdivision that you accepted as complete. The property, let me remember here. So they have there's a house and a body shop, I believe, on the parcel. They want to separate the two parcels to become right now they're a non-conforming use with a residence and a commercial entity on the same parcel. They want to separate the two parcels. However, the two parcels won't be big enough to meet the bulk requirements for a new parcel, so they'll have to get variances. But staff does recommend approval based upon their obtaining the necessary variances.
Okay, any discussion? Agenda item.
Item number 3 is MVP Properties. There's a lot of history to this project. MVP Properties is the building up on 909 across from Veltrees.
Yep.
So you got, MVP Properties originally came in, they were moving their business location to Plum, which is a trucking business. They bought that property. They decided that they wanted to add some outdoor storage and some indoor self-storage. Indoor self-storage. And they also wanted to add inside, a sport court. Going through this process with them, what we've uncovered is they actually just started another use, which was outdoor storage in the front of the property, which they hadn't gotten approval for. They did not get conditional use approval for, and was not permitted by council, and was not approved on their approved land development or construction drawings. The planning staff, in an effort to try and resolve this matter, had them come before the Planning Commission again, who made some recommendations, and we're still kind of working through how we resolve this issue, but I think Dave has a solution that he'd like to present to council to see if we can maybe get this moving forward.
Yeah, it would just be a modification to their approved site plan to allow for outdoor storage. Like Mike said, the Planning Commission did review and had a lengthy discussion with the applicant about it. When you look at the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting, there's not a whole lot, if any, discussion about outdoor storage. Some of the Planning Commission members remember the discussion about the outdoor storage being in the rear of the property so that it wouldn't be visible from Coxcomb Hill Road. Now, given in this situation, the facility sits a few hundred feet back from the roadway, and is only visible when you're traveling, from the ramparts toward Oakmont. When you come the other way, the grading prohibits you from seeing it. So after some discussion, the Planning Commission recommended to council that, a revised site plan approval would be acceptable to them, as long as they put additional screening slats in the fence that is in front of the self-storage facility.
How high is the fence? Is it 6 foot?
It's 6 to 8 feet. I'm not sure. If you look in your packet, there's a picture there. There's also trees that are built in front of it, so in the summertime at least, you'll have additional screening in the front there.
Yeah, I saw the picture, but it really
Yeah.
wasn't representative of how
And
high.
really, even with an 8-foot fence, if you're, if they're targeting, the boats that are up on trailers, the outdoor storage, you're going to see some of that in the front. There's no doubt. Now, to the owner's credit, they certainly say they don't want to have junk on their property, and they're going to do the best they can to
Nobody wants to have junk,
to monitor
it
what's there.
happens.
But those things evolve over time, and you see things,
Yeah.
But at least the Planning Commission recommendation
The
is.
property is also just a little higher than the roadway in that area, isn't it?
A lot higher, actually.
Yeah.
It is,
So,
yes.
the addition of the fence, if they do the slatting, I think it'll be relatively private. mean,
I think it'll be all fine. Here's my problem, is that they did something without going through the proper
It's
channels.
mine too, mine as well.
I mean, this is a classic example of, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. And it's just,
It's happening a lot
is
lately.
there something in our ordinance that they went through all of the proper procedures for what they presented to us, but then said, oh, let's just do this too?
Yeah.
Can we fine them for that, is my question?
No, I mean.
And if we don't approve, if we don't take the planning commission's recommendation, what happens then?
Well, then they don't have outdoor storage.
Okay.
But, with every commercial project, we have a final set of site plans that the borough signs, the applicant signs, and KU Resources signs. So we know this is the drawing that we're working off of.
I understand, David, you're
Yeah.
doing a great job. I just have a real problem when somebody's saying when they're peeing in my leg and they're telling me it's raining outside.
Yeah.
There's a process.
We don't need to, okay.
It's a storage unit, like, it's storage. So
why
now
not put it on the
commercially-
original
Well,
plan?
no, I understand, I'm
Yeah.
not arguing with you, I'm just saying, so there are two different uses where you can have an actual indoor storage unit and outdoor storage unit? I mean, is that very clear?
So it's all within a
just-
fenced-in area, and, obviously, the indoor storage is within the building that they built.
Right.
Dave, I think what he's asking is, are they separate uses?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, that's,
No.
so because it's a storage, I mean, it's a storage facility, correct? I mean, there's storage
Yeah.
containers all around the place,
And I'll give them this, if you look at the conditional use language in the zoning ordinance, it talks about outside storage.
Okay.
I think all that would have had to happen here is that they would have put it on their drawing to start with, and we know exactly what was happening.
Right.
This came up when we were doing a preliminary, final inspection. We noticed the fence was built,
Closer.
a lot further away from the building to allow for the outside storage.
Just from my personal experience, as you're building something, sometimes things come up that you wouldn't have thought about, and obviously, they probably needed to come to the borough
Right.
and
And I would
discuss it
totally
with you
agree with
guys.
you
Yeah.
that we do have field changes.
Yeah,
If they said they're going to build the fence, 20 feet away and it's 22 feet away, that's a field change. But when it
Yeah.
involves a use, then, I mean,
understand.
my
what you're saying.
suggestion to them was to come back to the planning commission and talk about it.
Right, absolutely. Understood.
Any other discussion?
So I just want to be clear about what we're putting on the agenda for next Monday night.
So my suggestion is that we're putting a modification to their approved site plan, their SP, whatever the SP number is, to allow outdoor storage in the front of the building contingent upon the installation of slats in the existing fence.
Is everybody okay with that?
I would designate
Not
how many.
conceptually how he's
Yeah.
intending to do it.
I would designate how many sides of this fence. I don't want it just in the front, because it is very visible coming from Oakmont. So it's got to be around, at least three-sided. In the back, where they were originally going to put it, they don't need to put it back there. But I want it three-sided, front, side, and both sides.
So I would agree that the one side is visible, the other side, it would only be visible from the woods. I mean, even if you're driving, I don't think you would be able to see that far side of the rectangle. But it's up to council how you want to word
You're a
that.
lot higher, you're coming down.
Can we
in
limit
the-
what they store there?
I mean, it's conditional use, and you can add conditions to your approval. I
Maybe
think
that's
what,
the way-
I
Maybe
think,
that's the way to go about it.
Yeah.
Put the slats in and limit what the height is of what they can store there. I mean, like a full-fledged RV, no matter what you do with that fence, you're gonna see it.
Yeah.
I think what they're doing is
So if you get
typical.
5 or 6 of them in there, it's gonna look like,
A storage place.
I
That's what it
necessarily
is.
don't- I think I started this
Split in the
this
back.
little
That's
storm
what
here.
really upsets
I don't have a
me.
problem with
Nobody was saying
the
it was
storage
in the
unit
back.
being there. I just don't, I just think they're doing an end run on us, that's all.
Right, and I wish there was a way to like correct it or like
Yeah.
slap them on the wrist or something.
Is-
It's like they're just getting away with it.
Is there a fine in our ordinance?
No,
It
in
was
order
just going,
to,
it's jumped through the hoops, going back to the planning commission and all that stuff.
no.
All right, well, I just say we vote on it next week. We'll see what happens. I just don't like feeling taken
I
advantage
see
of,
what
that's
you
all.
mean from the picture, Dave. You're talking about that far end where the woods are.
Yeah.
Yeah. we
But
don't-
can't you see that coming down 909 over top of that? No.
How tall,
All right.
tall's the fence?
It also sits way back.
Yeah,
It's not
it's-
right up against
Right.
99. It's way,
Okay.
I would agree with the fact that it's the asking for forgiveness situation, which is obviously, frustrating.
I would
But at
rather,
the same time, it's
Yeah.
it's a storage unit. It's
what-
for
that's the purpose,
storage.
I'd almost rather that long building that's back on the other side, closer to the roadway, and put the outdoor storage behind it. It would
Yeah.
be more
You wouldn't be
covered.
able to see it, yeah.
Anyway,
You're right. You're right.
Anyway, I've said enough.
Okay, so it's an agenda item.
is there any other discussion?
I'd just like to say something on a lot of the zoning stuff. There are a lot of people pressing the envelope, let's say, seems like more so now than ever before. They're trying to use our ordinances as much as we can plan for everything. They're finding little loopholes and coming around us. And it's happened with, people build garages right next to the road and get away with it. And our zoning hearing board allows it.
No, zoning hearing board denied that. They took it to court and won that.
Okay,
The judge allowed it.
stand
The judge
corrected,
allowed it.
zoning hearing board, excuse me. But, you know what I mean? It's like we do not have a recourse. Because if the zoning hearing board, everybody else denies it, they take it to town then, and then 9 times out of 10, they're getting it passed. I mean, this garage was built before anybody knew about it.
That issue's in the Commonwealth Court right now.
Did we appeal it, or who appealed it?
We appealed, yes.
Okay. It's just, is there anything that can be done? We need to look into that legally, I think, to some of our ordinances. It's nothing that anybody in this office is doing wrong. It's just you can't think of everything.
Dave, I think the ordinance
Apparently.
was pretty clear. It says.
They
here's
just
the-
didn't obey it.
Here's the
We
setback.
need to have some, and I agree with Mike.
We need
They
some
need to have a
teeth.
recourse.
Yeah, we need some teeth. We need to be able to find them or,
I
well,
think-
guess what? We have teeth. We can deny it next week.
I think the recourse is set forth in the MPC, where it talks about the appeal to the zoning hearing board.
You two are talking about two different.
Yeah,
two different- You're still talking about the garage, they're still
Okay.
talking about the,
We're talking about
Storage.
this.
MVP.
yeah. I think
The one in
Mr.
front of
Vento's
us.
point is just simply that we do seem to have a lot, and I don't know that it's unique to Plum, but
Yeah.
I don't know that it's as much our ordinances or anything that can be done, because we can't do anything that the MPC doesn't already authorize us to do. I mean, we can't just say, and if you don't do this, we're gonna fine you.
Right.
The MPC says what municipalities can and cannot do with respect to
And we can
land
vote
development.
no if we so choose.
What's that?
We can vote no.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, you can
within
do
our
that.
rights.
Yes, you can. But I would agree that does seem to be happening much more frequently these days.
If the vote goes no next week, they can appeal? What would their next course recall to go back and do it the right way?
They could appeal it, or they could reapply, with the proper site plan. I mean, there are a few options, that they would have.
This is why I'm so passionate about this tonight, and I don't normally get this way about things like this, because it's economic development, that's what we're looking for in this borough. But not one of those people are here saying they're sorry tonight.
Yeah.
And, doing a mea culpa. I don't see any of that. So that's why I have my heels
Valid
in the
point.
sand here.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my department tried to take the common sense approach here, and, we try and do that with all these things, but Mike is right, and Dave is right. We're finding people who submit site plans trying to vary from it, they build a pond, they don't call us for inspections, and, the pond was built incorrectly, so rebuild the pond. We've seen that more than once, so all we can do is stay on top of it as far as inspections are concerned with KU. That's why we have these signed construction drawings, and it's a reference that we know exactly what we're looking at.
For the record, Dave, none of this ire
I
is
understand.
directed towards you. You're doing your job, you're
I
doing a great
understand.
job with it.
I understand,
just,
but it's a constant battle. There's no doubt.
Well, maybe
Obviously.
it's time we start fighting back as a council. That's what I'm saying.
This is not uncommon. Every municipality we go to.
Understood.
It's the same.
Understood.
argument.
And every council deals with it differently.
If misery loves company, we have lots of it, right?
Yes,
Okay.
you do.
Okay, agenda item.
Item 4 is the Coddington lot line revision. Notice that I said that correctly. So, the applicant is seeking to revise the lot lines of 3 parcels that they own down on Greensburg Road. There are 2 homes and 2 garages combined with the 3 parcels. One of the garages, the access to the garage is actually on one of the other parcels. We're just going to redraw the lines to clean that up. This is, again, a simple subdivision. At this time, you're just accepting it as complete, and assuming we have everything in line, at the August meeting, we would be hopefully in a position to approve this subdivision.
What's there? Is it a house or?
2 houses. So there's,
But it's zoned highway commercial?
yeah, well, it's a non-conforming, it's down on
okay.
Greensburg Road,
Okay.
but there are houses down.
Okay. Any discussion? Agenda item.
Item number 5 is yet again a COLA for a retired police officer. This getting to be a monthly thing now. Literally.
Any discussion? Jenna?
Item number 6 is an executive session item. Item number 7 is the general obligation bond issue for 2021. In your agenda packets, there's a proposal from Piper, not Piper Jaffray anymore. I'm going to call him Piper Jaffray.
Piper Sandler.
Piper Sandler, thank you, for roughly a $7.6 million bond issue. I'll try and go through this quickly. When we awarded the contract for the New Borough building last year, when we talked about this, due to a number of different problems, different things that were occurring, namely COVID and the problems associated with the shutdown and everything, the Borough building project itself came in about $2 million higher than our budgeted amount. We also had some additional problems. We had Malabar. Then we took on some additional projects with Center Beach and O Block. So our need for additional funding increased for a number of different reasons. I had a finance committee meeting early in the year. We discussed with the finance committee that bond size amount, and the instruction from the finance committee was borrow as much as we can at this time. As much as we can is $7.6 million. That's because we want to keep this issue bank qualified. That just basically means it's $10 million or under. And our TAN for this year counts against it, so we have a $1.5 million TAN. We also, if you remember, we had that refi that we just did 2 months ago. The new money piece of that, it's not really new money. It might sound a little bit confusing, but there's some amount of that bond that was refinanced or advance refunded that does count against our borrowing base for this year. So that's what leaves us at the $7.6 million max to borrow this year and stay bank qualified. Again, bond rates are still at the lowest they've been ever, so this is still a very good time to borrow money. What I've put in your agenda packets for you all, if you got a chance to look at them, give me 1 second, I'm just gonna go to it. Under the Finance tab, I would like to call your attention to there's a tab that I've put together, Sources and Uses of Funds. It's sort of 7A, if you will. So we have the 2019 bond issue. Now, to be clear, some of these monies have been spent. I didn't want to get confusing with how much has been spent and how much is still available. So we're just dealing in as if all this money had been borrowed and nothing had been done yet. The 2019 GOB was $15,007,357. The recall that we did, or refinance that we did, was that garnered us $744,000. The bond issue that we're talking about now, keeping in mind that the $7.6 million bond issue includes the cost of issuance, so the net deposit in the construction fund would be about $7.435, and our total funding from the I can't remember what the acronym is, but it's the federal grant dollars that everybody got throughout the country, the ARPA. So we received $2.8 million. So we have a total of $26 million, $22,057 at our disposal, if you will. The borough building, including, and that's why if you look below at the borough building, I've itemized everything in that list. So it's the RICON contract, site engineering, design services, construction management, contingency. There's a whole host of things in there. The borough building in total is about $20.5 million. I would like to point out that of that $20.5 million, almost $1 million is in contingency. And I do feel comfortable in saying, and Bob can, I think, back me up on this, now that we're out of the dirt, so to speak, my biggest concern for the use of that contingency was the dirt. If you were here for the public works construction, our change orders on that project for dirt were almost $750,000. So we're probably right now at about $150,000 to $175,000 in change orders, but we're done. The foundation's in, the caissons are in, grade beams are in, they're putting up walls. So I feel comfortable in saying that we probably will not use the lion's share of that. We've also cut about $250,000 from the original contract price through deducts. So I'm feeling confident that most of that 900, I shouldn't say most of it, but the overwhelming majority of it will still be there. Some of those other things as well in that borough building, that 20.5 million, those numbers are estimates, and we've obviously estimated a little high. And we obviously can control them, because we can just cut things if they get too high. The other uses for that is the development of this existing site. Remember that the ultimate plan for this project is, once the new building is built, to develop this site commercially. So what we've taken a look at for this site is demolition, so that's 4575 New Texas Road. Demolition, property acquisition and right-of-way, and off-site improvements of about 1.4. To be clear, there's going to be more than that. This is just what I'm proposing, that out of this bond issue, this funding, we take care of. In property acquisition, obviously, I know someone's going to say to me, well, we already own the property. We do. But we will need to do some property acquisition for additional rights-of-way. If I didn't mention this to you already, PennDOT has indicated to us that they want to, I gotta get my bearings straight here, this intersection out here at Leechburg in New Texas and Ross Hollow, they want that whole thing reconfigured. They want a roundabout there.
Really?
At least that's.
Is there room for a roundabout?
Well, that's why we'd have to acquire additional right-of-way.
Is that part of that Nesbitt's?
Yeah, well, pushed.
On the left.
On the left-hand side, yeah. Then the stormwater projects that we have identified to date, totaling $4.5 million. And I would like to point out that the ones in black, the ones in bold, are already done. So some of that money, some of that $15 million from that original bond issue is already spent, like we said. So at the end of the day, we have about $26 million in funds to utilize. We have about $26.5 million in uses. What I would like council to do is I would prepare this in the form of a resolution for next week. There's two actions I would ask for. The first one is the bond council has already advertised the ordinance for the indenture for the $7.6 million in new money. So we have to adopt that ordinance that has been advertised. That would start that process like we've done multiple times before. The second item would be to adopt a resolution that says, here's the sources and uses of these funds. These are the projects we're going to do. Because the one thing that we keep getting bogged down in here, both council and even internally with staff, is what did we say we were using all this money for? And I would like to codify that in a formal action by council that says, here's what we're using this money for. So if you have recommendations or changes to some of those uses of the funds, and again, there's a lot of estimates in there, so, you know, and we've estimated very conservatively, so I'm hoping that the $26 million, 2622, it is what it is, that's what we're gonna have. But the 26.5 is conservative estimate, so I'm hoping we'll have money left over to do some additional projects as well, but I'd at least like to get this done for now.
Hey, Mike, has there been any discussion going forward with the municipal authority, what we're going to do to get their building out of here and where they're going to go? And do we have to
Yes,
give
so-
them any money to move them out?
So Bob put together a conceptual site plan for them to move to the other side of Old Mine Road at Old Mine and Renton. There's a parking lot there now.
Yep.
On that pad right there. As far as the payment to them for the property, there's a couple of different ways to handle that, but we do have a development team that is looking into this project, that is interested in doing something with this project. And so some of there's a couple different ways to, I almost said skin that cat.
Well, the reason I'm asking is, we're gonna have our building up and built, we're gonna be moving, and we can't really do anything with this property until they're out.
Agreed.
So
But
we need to get moving on that too.
we do. We've already had discussions with them, and they understand that, and we haven't had discussions with the authority about pricing, but we have had the discussions with them, and they absolutely understand the benefit to the community of doing it, and they're more than happy to look at it. Ultimately, it's going to come down to what can be negotiated with them to take that property.
So none of this money is involved in that.
No, none of this. That 1.4 is just to get this site ready.
Okay.
I don't really want to get too far down this road, but my advice, vision for that would be something that we would have the developer negotiate with them. Again, I don't really want to go too far down that road right now because that's part of the development proposal, but.
Yeah. I was just curious because all the money, I just didn't know if that was involved in there, and if they're moving forward with getting their building designed, because they've got to be out of here for us to do something with this.
Agreed. Their building's a lot smaller than
Yeah.
ours, doesn't have gun ranges.
They're
and
gonna,
gyms,
they're gonna have more garage.
community rooms.
Yeah, they're gonna have more garage
Exactly,
anyway,
yeah.
so it should be a less.
Doesn't have a giant council
Right.
chamber.
Less
It doesn't-
extensive, yeah.
Yeah, it's all pretty
Bull-
simple
bull-
space.
Bulletproof windows.
All right, any other discussion on the general obligation bond issue that Mike described for next week? Or, next week. Okay, agenda item.
Okay. The last item is also under finance. That was Mike Whitaker's email. If you saw, because we did receive that $2.8 million in ARPA funding, so the funding itself comes with a mandatory separate audit requirement. And we just feel that because it does have a mandatory separate audit requirement, it would just be easier not to commingle these funds with anything else. Open a new checking account. It's a little bit of an expense for us, but it's pennies. And just be able to segregate those funds from day one and then not have to worry about that come audit time. When audit time, it's just hand over, here's the bank recons for that checking account, and it's not mixed with anything else.
So this is all American Rescue Plan Act
Yes.
funding from coronavirus?
Yes.
So what type of reporting do we have to do is there any special reporting we have to do for the expenditures of those funds, or how does that work?
Well, yes, and I don't know.
Right, okay, all right.
It's all so new, like we're still trying to.
Yeah, 'cause all this is-
The
that's why I'm-
guidelines just
that's why
keep
I'm-
coming out, so
okay.
we're not really sure exactly, but
I think putting in a new checking account is a great idea,
Yes,
just
I
to
have it
Totally
keep that
being
money
able to, I mean,
completely
Yeah.
separate
Makes
from
total
everything that we
sense.
have.
Because there's going to
and-
be accounting needed,
Right.
there's some time,
Right.
you know? They're going to ask for, what do we do with that money and all that stuff. They're going to be.
I'd like to see some of that money go to the fire department, a little bit of it. Thank you,
I was
Jim.
thinking council bonuses.
Has Finance Committee
So-
had any
so I
discussions
just-
on?
I just want-
on how
Did you
this
second
money
me,
can be
Dan?
repurposed, or-
I just want to clarify, if you look at that breakdown on the previous item that I put together in that full 2.8 million is in all of that.
Okay.
It's, that 26 million includes the 2.8 million.
I see.
That's the ARP money, the
It's included in the
2019
26 million.
Yes.
So
and
if there's something else that we want to do with those funds, then we should let it be known before
Yeah, you
next
should
week.
pull it out before, because what I was hoping to do is do this as a resolution saying, here's the sources and uses of these funds.
Do we know that the planned uses that we have for this funding are all within the guidelines for that funding
Yes.
stream? Okay, all right.
And that's what makes it easiest for us too, because it's all of that money would be used for stormwater, for capital
Right,
projects.
okay, great.
Something else that isn't included in this and that maybe would help Mr. Dern's cause, we also have, I'm proud to say, we have a $5 million, greater than $5.4 million fund balance right now. So if there, which is why I'm comfortable with these numbers, because if we do have a $500,000 shortfall, we actually obviously have that money available to us in the fund balance. If there's something else that council would like to see done at a later date with that fund balance, that's always that's a possibility at any time.
Okay.
There you go.
I'd like to get together with the fire departments and get a list from them, because I know they gave up their fish fries. They gave up, Holiday Park gave up their hall rental. Renton gave up their hall rental. And if we could give them, I don't know,
Every little bit helps.
yeah,
Well,
Every little bit.
you want to get with them and
yeah,
then?
I will, I
Okay.
will.
I thought Holiday Park was going back.
They are,
Re-renting
they
their
are.
new.
They are,
But
but they
for the
they lost a
previous
whole year.
year.
Yeah, I
previous
understand
year,
that.
Everything was shut down.
Yeah, they lost
So they
a
lost
lot.
all their bingo, they lost all their fish fries.
Yeah, I understand.
Unity didn't even do a fish fry this year because they
Right.
couldn't. So, you know, I mean,
They've all
yeah.
taken some hits.
I'll reach out to Anita and Jim and have them
Okay.
maybe put together something and
Okay.
Not much. Probably not enough.
So that was the last agenda item, the new checking account.
Okay, before we convene the meeting for executive session, or adjourn the meeting for executive session, is there anyone who would like to speak? Public comment time?
Movie in the park this Saturday. Movie in the park this Saturday.
Oh.
There's going to be the movie in the park.
Movies in the park this Saturday, for those of you who are interested?
Scooby.
All right, Scooby-Doo's the movie. Okay, thank you, everyone. We are adjourned for executive session.
Thanks.
That was all worth it.